Otskare, and welcome back. So, today, the original plan go through a chum bucket application, but to help grow my channel and make it more interactive, I wanted to build something that I would be using in all my videos. As you can see on the screen, there's a small little icon, a little character. These sort of these emojis are called emojis in Japanese, and they're like text emojis, right? And this is gonna be the mascot of the channel. I did air quotes, can't see them. uh, so I'm gonna jump over to the next scene. See this? You'll notice there's a little bit of a resolution drop, and that's because I just stretched up the picture. But this emoji is controllable by my Xbox controller, and I can add in lots of emotions and lots of depth into my videos. It's really cool. A little backstory on how I came up with this idea. There's a few other channels on YouTube which use these sort of characters to explain what they're doing, and they just do audio recording and they add in different cutouts of these animated characters to articulate their points. So I'm talking with my hands right now, and you can't really see that, but if I move my emoji, you get more of a sense of what I'm talking about, and if what I'm talking about has a point. Um, yeah, so a couple of those YouTubers, I'll put links in the description, but the main one I was thinking of was Subjectively. They do a lot of character design readers, reimaginings. So yeah, this code will be up on GitHub, and you can edit it. You want to make your own little virtual emoji. Let's jump into the code. So you can see here that I'm importing pygame. Now, what's pygame? Pygame is a Python game engine that I've been using to do this sort of thing. The reason I chose a game engine is because I want to update an image often, this little guy, um, and I want to have input controllers for my Xbox controller. Those two sort of fields are handled quite well by a game engine. The other thing is game engines very easy to reason why things are updating. And just to we'll go through the code and then I'll do a little explanation further down, right? So you can see above I have the assets added to the application, which is just different versions of the emoji. So the blue, the green, the red, and I've added in little directions like up, left, down, right. I haven't done any and base, which is when I click. So when it's done a movement, I click, return it back to the center, which would be like a base emotion. So we get to our pygame initialize, which just initializes the game, the object. So we now adding the game icons. I think there's a bug in Ubuntu, which has an issue with this, but you can get around it by embedding Python game into Tinker or something like that. So after that, we have joysticks. We initialize the joysticks, and then we do a search for all of the joysticks inside the game. Jump over to the terminal. Here you can see it's detected the joystick as a Microsoft Xbox pad, and then it has some of the buttons being pressed here toggled, and that's just the main ones, and I think the left button, the shoulder button, which I'm using for size. Here, we go to detect, yep, and then yeah, you can see here I've got button green is 0, button red is 1, button blue, button yellow, and the joystick position is none. And I did that just so I could know where the joystick position is in other parts of the application instead of just the joystick logic. I'm gonna jump to the explanation, and I'm gonna do a quick diagram about the game engine. If you know anything about game engines, there's normally a big loop, right? Beautiful, beautiful drawing. Yeah, so I got this loop here, and then the actual code runs inside this loop, which will do things like, update the screen. It will play sounds, or it will check inputs, and this loop will run. This loop will run continuously until it's stopped, forever in the entire game. What it means is you can add, while you're doing these sort of things like play, you can add a boolean up here and say, is the player alive? True. And then later on you say, is the player alive? False. And then you know that the player is dead, and you can show screens based on that information on the next screen refresh. So it's a very simplistic way of building applications as well using this game loop, instead of like something like React, which will listen to state changes and then run the screen flicker again. Alright, we're back. Sorry, I had the wrong version in my local. I've updated this variable here because it was a little bit confusing for me, but we have this while loop down here, which will run until this variable is set to false. But in the default documentation, I think for pygame, it's the opposite. I'm not sure why, but I think this makes a lot more sense. Me. So is the game running? Sure. Is the game, and then when we quit, here, is the game quit? Is the game running? False, and then it just stops the loop and the window. That makes a lot more sense to me, but you can do this as done. Done is equal to false, and then while not done, you can do it that way. Up to you, but I prefer the version. Here we've got screen size. I have two screen sizes because I put in a button here. Oh, cool. I put in a button which I have broken, which is more of like a reactive approach. Alright, we're back. Sorry, I had the wrong version in my local. I've updated this variable here because it was a little bit confusing for me. We have this while loop down here, which will run until this variable is set to false. But in the default documentation, I think for pygame, it's the opposite. I'm not sure why, but I think this makes a lot more sense for me. So is the game running? Sure. Is the game, and then when we quit, is the game running? False, and then it just stops the loop. That makes a lot more sense to me, but you can do this as done. Done is equal to false, and then while not done, you can do it that way. Up to you. I've got two screen sizes because I have a button toggle. Right button makes the emoji window bigger. And that's so like little talks at the beginning of the video. I'll probably put in some hyper textures, as I mentioned before. But that's just for use case. I don't know if everyone's use case would be like that. I thought I'd include it just so you can have a play. Yeah. We've got the is true, which I already went through, and then we've got the clock. The clock is a function to handle the frames per second, and it like how fast the screen will update. I can probably lower mine. At the moment it is 60, but majority of the time the image is not updating, only when I do the movements. So I can probably drop it down to 24 frames per second normal video. You can have a play as well. It's not a very intensive application, so it's not a big issue. But if you have lots and lots of images, maybe you want to drop it. And then I've got how I decide the different emojis and different color sizes. So this is my kind of mini state here. I've got a default, which is yellow. Probably put this to 4. But now it's defaulted to first one in the array. Little pointer. One. Yeah, so now we have a loop and we have this 4 events. This will get all the events that pygame is listening to, and it will then run over our if statements for each of them. Classic is if the type is equal to game quit, then it will quit. And I've expanded on this and put in equals to, if it's equal to 27, which is escape, it will quit. So it's a little bit of extra stuff here. You can print out the key, event keys, map it to whatever you like. All of these are on the if else all the way down. We get to here, we have the joystick motion. So this is deciding whether the joystick is moving. And so I've put the LR, which is for left right, and the UD for up down, and got the first axis and the second axis out of my currently connected, currently the joystick that's causing the event. And I just did some very rudimentary math checks here, which is if it is all the way to the left, it will be -1. If it's all the way to the right, +1. And what you can do here is if it's like 50%, like here, is diagonally up to the left, you can then do these as half measures, and you can calculate this by printing out this LR value to sort of match the direction that you're pointing. And then the same thing for up and down, where it gets the different access value based off of whether it's -1 or 1. And then it replaces this current emoji, this one here, as the default of yellow. Right now it's getting current color, which current color is yellow. So it will get 0. If I press this way, then it is the default. If I press that, then that's the same as the default emoji, which is yellow, 0. So now we get into the joy buttons. Classic Xbox ones with the green, red, the yellow, and the blue, which I've named accordingly. And I'm setting, so when I press the yellow button, I set the color to be yellow, and then I set the current emoji to be the base of that color. So if I press yellow, this is the base emoji instead of this one. So I should probably fix that base here. And so these are just updating, like I mentioned before with the loop, these are updating these globals. And then when this runs through on that tick, every 60 frames per second, it'll do 60 updates based on those global variables. And then now I have down here, which is that screen size, making the window bigger and smaller if I press that key. Here the screen, so super simple, it's getting that global that I'm mutating, and it's setting that as the screen size. It's applying the white. It's here applying that current emoji that I've used. The global I've been mutating using the above heuristic techniques. It's scaling it to the current size of the window, and then here is placing it at 0, 0 is normally the top left corner, and then positioning from there. Now we have the screen refresh, which is the pygame display flip, and then tick 60, which is our frames per second. And then we have the pygame quit, which is on the outside of the loop. Right, by indenting, you can see. So when this stops running, it will then run the very final thing here. It's just a little application. Have a play, and if you have any questions, Pygame is very interesting. I think it's very cool for these little applications. All right, that's that's sort of it for this video. Very simple game. Probably only like an afternoon to build. Just the images you want to focus on, and you can have a beautiful YouTuber flip off your friends. Let me know if you have if there's any sort of languages you want me to go through. Jane wani, which is see you later alligator in Japanese. I'm trying to coin the phrase, so please everyone say Jane wani.